Okay, well, good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome. The purpose of our conversation today is, we've received many questions about this aspect of the budget, so we thought it would be a nice idea to get everybody together, give you a brief overview, and then take your questions. I will be recording this meeting, and I will make that available to everyone following the meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and start the recording now.
Recording in progress.
So we have with us today, we have our CFO, Ahmed Abanama. We've got our Chief Director of Public Safety, Carrie Howard, and our Chief of Police, Wayne Drummond. They're going to walk us through an overview, and then we've got about 30 minutes for this total meeting, so we'll take as many questions as we can. During the Q&A, as we have in the past, if you can raise a hand or you can drop your questions in the chat, and we will get to as many as we can. We got some more people I need to admit. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we are all muted and turn the conversation over to our CFO. Thanks so much.
And thank you, Marie. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'll just spend a few minutes making a few points about the overall 2023 mayor's estimate that was delivered to council on Wednesday, and provide hopefully some useful context for the group. So as I'm sure you've seen in the mayor's estimate that we delivered on Wednesday, that we have estimated revenues of about $710.9 million and estimated expenses of $710.7 million in the general fund, giving us a structural balance of approximately $225,000. This was the first time since before the pandemic in the 2020 budget that we've been able to present a budget that has our revenues meeting or exceeding our expenses. And this is after having a $62 million structural deficit in the 2022 budget last year. To this point of structural balance, we did not lay off any staff or eliminate any current filled positions in the budget. We did eliminate approximately 257 vacant positions in the budget as compared to last year. This leaves just over 650 vacant positions remaining in the general fund operating budget, which equates to about a 16% vacancy rate. I think what that means in practical terms is that each of the divisions in the administration retains flexibility to be able to hire and staff as needed to meet the needs of the organization and the needs of our residents. Among those 257 positions that were removed from the budget, about 142 of those were in the division of police with respect to the uniformed officers. That took the budgeted numbers down from 1,640, which has been the historic number over the last several years for uniformed officers in the budget, to 1,498. With a reduced number of budgeted headcount, there remain 206 vacant unfilled positions in the budget for uniformed officers. Generally believe that, though these reductions in headcount may be difficult for some, and were not maybe the news that everyone wanted to see, it was really important that we make those decisions now at this point in time, as opposed to waiting several years down the road when instead of talking about vacant positions, we would be talking about positions that have people in them when we have to take measures to balance the budget. So we really do believe that taking these actions now is really the most responsible way for us to ensure the long-term health of the city and the ability of the Division of Police and the rest of the divisions in the administration to operate with confidence that they can continue to meet their obligations into the future. I would also note as a last point that the general fund is not the only place to look for investments in the Division of Police specifically. As many are aware, we are in the process of developing a new police headquarters on Superior Avenue at the cost of approximately $90 million. We have made several ARPA investments to support the operations of the Division of Police, to the tune of over $20 million. This has included a variety of equipment, including ShotSpotter, dash cams, cruisers, IT, and we've also made an investment of approximately $5 million in the co-responder model to help support the operations of the division. So with that, I will turn it over to the Chief Director of Public Safety.
Thank you, Chief Abinama. I think something that the public really needs to recognize is that empty seats, vacancies, don't keep the city safe. The police officers who are out there actually doing the work keep the city safe. And what you're seeing is not a divestment or a defunding of the police. You're witnessing an investment in police. That investment comes in the form of the 7% salary increases. That investment comes in the form of providing them more tools and technology to help them do their jobs. As you've seen, ShotSpotter is being expanded throughout the city. That investment comes in relieving some officers from some calls that officers don't need to go out to. One of the things that we have commonly heard is that officers respond to everything. They're being called and asked to respond to things that perhaps officers should not. And that's where the co-responder and care response program comes into play, so that we can give those who are suffering mental health crises the appropriate attention and services that they need. And that does not always require a police response. What you're also seeing is an investment in the headquarters, as Chief Abinama stated, $90 million for a new police headquarters. And what we've learned this year is significant. We've learned that with better and proper intelligence, we can do more strategic and precision policing in the city. And that is why you'll see in the budget that there will be a crime analyst, a data analyst at each district. And if there's any doubt as to the value of these analysts, you can look to Operation Wheels Down, Operation Stop, that interrupted our streets being taken over by dirt bikes and muscle cars. You can look to Operation Clean Sweep, that has resulted in the arrest of several hundred people based off of intelligence. We've gotten some of the most violent offenders off of the street. We're heading into what modern policing looks like, and the BIB administration, the folks on this call are providing an investment in policing. Now I'll go to Chief Drummond for additional comment.
Thanks, Director Howard. I appreciate it. I think it's important that we not lose what the Division of Police, and specifically the men and women out on the street are doing every day, which is answering calls for service, providing the best quality service I believe they can to our residents and community. And they've been doing that for the last several years, although we know across the United States that we're having issues with recruitment and also retention. But in spite of all that, the officers and the black and white cars, the black cars out there are doing a tremendous job answering their calls and taking care of the community. It's also important to understand that we've been doing this with these numbers we've had for the last couple of years. Our numbers now are going down to at least budgeted, the 1498, and we're currently well under that, as the finance director just mentioned. We're well short of where we should be. And the 1640 numbers was a really lofty number that based on society now, based on the lack of being able to get enough quality qualified individuals become law enforcement officers, it was a challenge, and it's still a challenge to reach the numbers that we currently are budgeted for, which is the 1,498. It's still a challenge to get to that number. In my 34 years on the job, we've never experienced such an issue, if you want to say, of finding individuals that want to become law enforcement officers, law enforcement professionals, which is troubling, and it's, I believe, for several reasons. I think part of it, and I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, part of it is the vilification of law enforcement officers in general. And also just a change in society with individuals where they're just not going into the field of law enforcement. When I took the test 34 years ago at Public Hall, there were approximately 5,000 people that took the test, 5,000. Today, we're lucky to get 200 people to take a test. And when we're trying to seat a class of 50, that's almost impossible. The director and I and several others just sat in through our, what we call our 1 for 10s, and where we're trying to find qualified individuals to become law enforcement professionals here in the city of Cleveland. And we were only able to find approximately 11 individuals. That's 11 individuals. Our numbers that we started with were small to begin with. So that's the dilemma that we face trying to get qualified individuals or people that want to become law enforcement officers. But it can't be lost that the men and women right now are doing, a fabulous job, I think, of responding and taking care of the job at hand and providing the quality service I believe that they're giving to our community. So that we can't lose that. Safety is the #1 priority for the mayor of this city and myself and the public safety director. That's our #1 priority. And the director mentioned about the different special events that we've had or details we've had to help us take individuals off the street that's creating havoc in our neighborhoods. And we'll continue to do that with the staffing that we have. And again, don't get me wrong, I would love to get up to the budgeted number, which is the 1498. And we're going to do everything we can to fulfill that. But I'm also a realist that for us to achieve that, it's going to take a long time. And when I say a long time, I mean, I think it's going to be a while before we can get to the 1498. And again, if history, and at least the recent history, last couple of years, is any indication of trying to get people to want to become police officers, we're competing with a small pool. A small pool of people. When I say we, that's law enforcement professionals across the United States of America, from California to Connecticut to New York to Florida and so forth. We're all competing for a small pool of individuals that want to become police officers. So that goes to retention of officers and so forth. And so that becomes an issue for us in trying to get qualified individual. So I don't want to be lost that we're going from budgeted, and that's the key word here, budgeted numbers of 1640 down to a budgeted number of 1498, when we've been doing a really good job with the numbers that we currently have. And that's not to say, and it's important because I don't want to be misquoted, misunderstood, that it's not important for us to get to those number of 1498, and we're doing what we can relative to our recruitment and also relative to our retention of officers that we currently have.
Thank you, Chiefs, for that overview. Let's go ahead and get to some questions. I misspoke earlier. We do not have our chat enabled for this meeting. I'm sorry about that, but please raise a hand and I will grab your questions. Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks, Marie. Safety Director, I have a question for you regarding transparency. Can you define what transparency means to you as a safety director? Because some of your recent actions, including yesterday, seem to be taking the Bibb administration backwards and becoming less transparent. Thank you.
Transparent means, getting important information to the public. And I think you're talking about the police headquarters yesterday. Am I correct, Mark?
Correct.
Okay, so I want to address that directly. So I think there was some miscommunication. It's always been the intent to have the press to do a walkthrough. Yesterday's walkthrough and conversations with City Council was to be an open house for City Council so that they can walk through, ask their questions. And we know that the press is going to want to walk through this building, but we have to keep in mind there's a couple of things. Is that the building, we don't own the building yet, and we don't own cross-country mortgage. And we have to have conversation and dialogue with both of the entities who own those facilities so that we can get the press to walk through and for them to be safe. And the police headquarters, the archive building is a pretty raw building. I walked through there yesterday and I had seen several, for example, exposed nails coming out of the floor. So we have to have a conversation with the owners. We want to make sure that the building is safe. We want to pose the conversation with the law department to make sure that we don't expose the city to liability, but it has always been the intent to follow this council walkthrough with a walkthrough for the media. And you'll see that coming out soon. So there was no barring of the press so as to not have transparency. It's just there's a right place and the right time to do things, and we feel like we want to make sure that the press is able to walk through, ask questions, see the archive building, and then if the hosts at Cross Country Mortgage are so gracious to allow us to walk through their building, so that you can get a vision and see really what we're looking at. So no, transparency is absolutely important in public safety. It's important to Mayor Bibb, and we will continue to put that forward.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please, Tara.
Hello, good morning. Mayor Bibb promised to get more officers on the streets, 70% officers on the streets. Have you done that? And can you expand on how you have done that?
Who is that, Tara? Who is that question for?
Chief Drummond, for you. Both of you can chime in.
If I may, just briefly, I can tell you that when Mayor Bibb, then candidate Bibb, was campaigning, there was information that he didn't have access to. And then having a greater understanding of the environment that we're in with recruitment, Chief Drummond kind of touched on it, is that we are competing for the same folks that other law enforcement entities are attempting to recruit. We're also competing with the private sector for private security firms. We're competing with the military. And that age range that we're trying to recruit is from 21 to 35 for the most part, right? You have to be 21 to be a police officer. So, we've had attrition, we've had difficulty with recruitment, and what Mayor Bibb has done in speaking with all of us is he's pivoted to recognizing these challenges and then providing these investments to the police. Now, we will continue to work to get more officers on the street, both with doing administrative work. That takes time. We're going to evaluate that to see, how many civilians we need to come in to do the job of. I think it's only around maybe 50 officers or so, I believe. And then we have to make sure that we do it the right way, right? That we actually do it the right way. These officers still need to be, they need to be paid. This is why we have the RFP out for the modernization consultant that has closed and is going through a selection process. Once we get the information from the consultants who will come in and look at the organizational structure of the Division of Police, going to look at the number of officers that we need to police the city of Cleveland based off of its square mileage and its population, and look at modernizing our operations, you'll see a reflection of that interaction with the consultant in the 2024 budget. But right now, we have to make honest and strategic decisions for the Division of Police and Safety of Cleveland.
Chief Drummond, could you speak about that as well?
We have to make sure that we're able to bring on officers that the budget can support. The budget is right now is at $1498. We're going to do everything within our power through our recruitment unit to hire, again, important here, to hire qualified individuals in a very small pool of qualified folks. So we're doing our very best to comport with Mayor Bibb's goal, which is to add officers to our ranks. But we have to stay within the budget. The budget's going to be able to support the 1,498 officers. So we're doing everything we can to get up to those particular numbers, and that's through recruitment and also retaining the current officers that we have.
Thank you.
Can I have Sarah, please?
Yes, hello. I apologize if this question was already asked, but can you tell us how many current uniformed officers CPD has as well? Can you also talk about the number of recruits that you got in 2022 and what you're doing to currently retain the officers that you already do have?
Currently our numbers, our current numbers as of Monday, it's approximately 1,298 officers, and we've had a couple leave, and that's just for transparency. So those numbers may be a little bit less than that, but right now 1,298. So that puts us down with a budget of about 200 officers is where we're currently. And that numbers, again, it may be maybe off by a little bit. And I'm sorry, what was your other question, Sarah? I apologize.
No problem. My other question was, how many recruits did you get in 2022? And also, what are you doing to retain current officers?
What I was just talking to my staff, we approximately, and I'll get you the exact numbers, about, I would say since 2021 through 2022 is about 100, somewhere around 98 that we're able to bring through and graduate through our academy. And that's important to understand. But you also have to look at other aspects of that too. And then this is just the realities of our law enforcement today. We lost in 2021 about 186 officers left the Division of Police. And again, just to be transparent, we also lost 200 officers last year. So we are bringing folks in, not at the numbers we would like to see, and we're also losing them. So it kind of goes to your point and your question, I'm sorry, Sarah, about what are we doing to retain them? And that's a very good question. I think it's a fair question. What we're doing is through the contract negotiations, which obviously we had last year, the officers received a 7% increase last year. There'll be also a increase this year to make it more competitive with other cities are paying their officers. We know that's important. Having a decent salary for our officers is really important, and retaining those officers and having an environment where the officers are respected and supported, I think also is very important. I think we're doing that. And also providing them with the tools and the equipment that they need to do their job effectively. And also being more strategic in what we do. And also, and we use the word force multiplier, Sarah, quite a bit. When we have the expansion of ShotSpotter that helps us. We have other technologies that help our officers to be more efficient in how they do their jobs and so forth. So I think that helps. And also, we're a larger agency. We're the largest agency and one of the largest agencies in the state of Ohio. So we have the ability to offer different units and opportunities for officers to enhance their jobs and their careers and so forth. The SWAT unit, homicide unit, and go on with several others, whereas in smaller municipalities, they don't have that. So that, I believe, can help retain the officers. But I think key to that is also make sure we support and have an environment where the officers feel supported. And I think we're doing that here as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Let's have Nick followed by Ed, please.
Thank you very much. Question for the chief and the safety director. How many cadet classes are you planning on bringing on this year?
Director, if I can chime in, I know you're going to have probably, what I can tell you is that we're budgeted for 180 recruits. So if we can get 180 recruits, that'd be fantastic. Now, how many, Nick, how many recruit classes that equates to, I'm not quite sure. When I stated before, we have smaller classes. That's just reality. And again, right now, Nick, sitting in my academy class downstairs from me are 13 recruits. That's a class of 13 recruits. I hope all 13 will remain and graduate, but that's we have 13 right now. Like I just said, the director and I sat, and we have 11 folks right now who are so far qualified to sit in another class. We hope to increase that number. So it's a challenge for us, but we're doing everything we can, again, to recruit, bring people in. So if that equates to 3 or 4 academy classes, that's what we'll put through. We want to get to the number that we're budgeted for, which is 180 to go through the academy. If we can get beyond that, I would think that the chief finance director, Ahmed, will also approve us to get over those numbers to get to the 1498.
Hey, and Nick, just to add to that, to clarify, you know, we have the amount of time that it takes to put the academy class through. We're looking at a potential 3, maybe 4 classes, right? And then thinking about that amount of time. Now, just say that everything aligns and we can meet that 180. We can have an academy class here through the Division of Police, and we can also use Tri-C. We can partner with Tri-C. So we have the facilities and the capability to bring on 180. But looking at the recruitment trends, we know that is going to be a difficult uphill challenge. But if we do get those 180, we will have those academy classes.
Hey, if I can jump in, I have a question for the CFO, and forgive me if this has been asked before because I had to jump off briefly in the meeting here, but a lot of talk about less money for officers, but we see an increase in the proposed budget for the mayor's office. Why is there an extra $500,000 or more in the mayor's office budget when there's less money for police?
Thank you. So I think that there's only an increase in the mayor's office budget if you look at what the actual expenditures were in 2022 against what's budgeted for 2023. And if you do the same for the Division of Police and any of the other public safety divisions, the same math would apply. You'd see an increase in expenditures based on what's budgeted versus what was expended. The budget to budget, I'm sorry, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. With the mute and I was going to ask you to clarify that because I'm not quite sure. I'm seeing the 2022 number like 1.4 and the 2023 number 2.0, like 2 million.
In the total budget for the mayor's office?
Correct.
And if you're looking in the 2023 budget book, that would be comparing the actual expenditures in 2022 in the mayor's office against the budgeted for 2023. So because the mayor's office had vacancies like nearly every other division in the organization, it didn't spend up to its appropriation in 2022. And so it looks like there's an increase, but it's just showing budget versus actual.
So the mayor's office is planning to hire people to fill those positions?
That's the intent, yes.
All right. And again, that just gets back to, we're not going to fill the police positions, but we're going to hire more people in the mayor's office.
As the chief and the chief director have noted, the intent is to do everything we can to hire the vacant positions in the police budget as well.
Right, but not as many as we had. Or let me ask you a different way. What positions are still to be filled in the mayor's office? Maybe that's a better way.
I don't have that in front of me. I wasn't prepared to discuss that in this setting.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, I hate to do this, but it's 12 o'clock, so I think we do need to end, but I know you, looks like we have some additional questions. If anybody wants to send to me additional questions, please do that, and I'll make sure that we get them answered.
I had my hand up. I had my hand up. You passed me by twice.
I'm trying to take as many questions of the media as I can, sir. I do apologize.
Well, this is Councilman Polensik. I was invited to this and I had a question. So you don't want to take my question?
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. And I appreciate the invitation and I appreciate the comments of the safety director, the finance director, and the chief. And I think we're all aware of the challenges that they're confronted with. We're all confronted with as it pertains to filling these ranks. The director, finance director indicated, and I've got to understand this. You mentioned, you made it, you said the number of 142. That's what you indicated that we were down. Was that correct?
Councilman, that 142 is, let me make sure I understand the question. 142 is the number of vacant police positions that we removed from the budget this year.
Okay, you removed. Okay, that's more like it. Now, on 3 occasions here, the chief indicated that the budget is 1,000, calls for 1,498 officers. Okay. He said that on 3 different occasions. If you go to page 353 and 354 of the budget book that you presented to us, the mayor's estimate, it's only 294, 1,294. And that's if I add the traffic controllers to that you're up to 309, but we know traffic controllers are not police officers. So I've got my 3 budget books in front of me going back 3 years. What you're calling for in your budget that you sent over to us under protective services and administration officials, which is the command staff, you wind up with 1,294. So where is the 1,498? I don't see it in here.
Councilman, on the next page after the protective services section, there is a line item for vacant uniform, and that's 206. And so if you take the number of administration and officials plus the protective services, subtract the traffic controllers and the safety aides and add 206, you get to 1,498.
So your goal is what you're telling us is you're going to try to get to 1,498.
Yes.
That's what you're telling us.
The effort we will make. Yes.
Well, again, I look forward to the budget hearings. I look forward to the deep dive. Again, I'm very much appreciative of the challenges that the administration has, that the council has in dealing with these, in dealing with this situation. But as we heard today, we have 1,298 officers on the street. And what I do know is that we cannot fill critical investigative positions. We cannot fill homicide, traffic, sex crimes, domestic violence. We cannot fill the critical units. The chief is struggling to fill those. The basic car plan, we're having a great challenge trying to fill the basic car plan as well. So what is critical is that this marketing and recruitment plan has got to get it's got to get going. We've got to have an aggressive plan here, because at the end of the day, as the chief indicated, and I've had a long working relationship over the years, and I know this pains him to not have the numbers that he needs. So at the end of the day, we're losing officers every week. We've got to figure out how we're going to backfill those positions. So that's where I'm at. I mean, that's where we're here trying to work with you and the administration to figure out how we can aggressively recruit officers to fill these positions, because we cannot fulfill our base. The Cleveland Police Department cannot fill its basic responsibilities at this point. And that's of great concern to members of council. And I'm assuming it is to the administration as well. So I'll leave it at that note, and I look forward to seeing you in a budget hearing.
If I can respond just briefly. And I know there wasn't a question, but I do want to say that that's not accurate when you say that the Division of Police cannot fulfill basic functions. That's absolutely not true. We are fulfilling basic functions. We are, which is evident, and I had an interview yesterday. It's very difficult to tell any family who has lost someone to a victim of crime that our numbers are down. But the fact of the matter is that our violent crime numbers are down because of the hard work, precision and strategic work of the men and women of the Division of Police. So we are meeting those basic functions. This recruitment issue, and we'll get into it, as you say, Chair at Council, that, what the heck is it? It cut off. It cut off.
Director, we can still hear you. Director.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Video, we lost
Hear
your
you.
video feed, but we can still hear you.
Director, we can hear you.
Director, we can hear you and see you now if you want to continue.
This has been a longer and ongoing issue that for some time ago. But we are meeting basic functions. The city of Cleveland is safe because of the hard work of the men and women of the division. And this budget reflects an investment in policing to continue that.
Thank you very much, chiefs. Thank you, councilmen. Thank you, members of the media. Please follow up with me if you have additional questions, and thank you so much for your time today.